This is She-Hulk. This is not. Hello everyone, this is Gene from NYC again, and I'm back with another video. I've gained a few more subscribers, so whether you've been here from day one, or this is your day one, welcome to the channel. I hope that you enjoy it. So this video is going to be a little bit different. I just finished reading Avengers 20, written by Jason Aaron. And although it may not come across in my voice, because honestly I'm trying to restrain my emotions, I am actually quite angry and insulted by that comic that I just read. The comic is mainly, to summarize, the comic is mainly about She-Hulk. And I guess her internal battle with herself, especially now that she's the character of She-Hulk, especially if you haven't been following for a bit, has changed. She's no longer the sassy, vivacious female power fantasy that she became famous as under John Byrne's pen, and even Dan Slott's pen. Although John Byrne to me will always be She-Hulk's daddy, as it were. He's the one who really took the character and made the comic series sort of an action comedy. He was the one who introduced the whole fourth wall breaking for her. People associated these days with Deadpool, but She-Hulk really is the one who made it popular. I'm not going to say she's the first one to ever do it, but it was her comic that made it very popular because it was very unique for its day. So for me, sensational She-Hulk will always be She-Hulk for me. Now, the reason why I bring this up is because She-Hulk has been, in my opinion, bastardized in recent years. First, there was Mariko Tamaki's run. I read several issues of that, thought it was awful, but I wasn't doing reviews at the time. I was watching reviews, and then I would at times read the issue myself, because at times I just could not believe that the comic was that bad and had veered so far from what Jen is as a character and what she represents as a character. But sadly it has. So Jen, who used to be this female empowerment fantasy, now really under the pen of Mariko Tamaki, and now seems to be maintained under the pen of many other writers, the most recent one being Jason Aaron, who's writing at least this Avengers issue, which is supposed to be a tie-in to War of the Realms. But anyway, it's been maintained for, at least 2 years, if not 3, now that Jen is basically Bruce Banner with breast, which is a rendition of her I strongly disagree with. Now, I just finished reading Avengers 20, written by Jason Aaron, and I'm going to say it. I hated it. I feel insulted. I'm not going to do a comic review of it at this time, though, because honestly, it would just be an angry rant. I would just be yelling and screaming. I am too emotionally worked up and too insulted at this moment, to be honest, to do a fair review. Right? I'm going to do a review of it eventually, but maybe in a few days once I've calmed down. But right now I can't do it. I literally just finished reading it before I started recording this video. So what I'm going to do instead is respond and hopefully make a rebuttal to this version of She-Hulk. In particular, the way Jason Aaron has written this version of She-Hulk and what her internal conflicts and what her motivations are, because I'm not going to lie. Every part of me just wants to yell and scream at Jason Aaron at this moment, but I'm going to refrain and try to explain my grievances instead of just yelling and screaming. So, if I had to summarize the issue, it's She-Hulk at war with herself. The issue opens up with a court case, and you see the sensational version of She-Hulk sort of as the prosecution, and the defendant, right, or the person on trial is this new tokenized version, really, of She-Hulk, right? A version of She-Hulk that truly is Bruce Banner with boobs and ovaries. So, right, what happens is that it opens up with this trial, right? And as the story goes on, it's more about Jen's internal conflict. Generally speaking, I don't mind stories about internal conflict, but what frustrates me about this issue is that Jason Aaron is very... how do I explain it? There's a lot of stuff that he glosses over or that he does not explain, and in my opinion, I think he does this to present a certain narrative about classic She-Hulk that is not true. But like, for example, he argues in the issue that Jen was somehow traumatized by the fact that men were attracted to her. It talks about how men hit on her, apparently men on the teams that she worked on hit on her and whatnot. Now, I'm not going to say that there was no man that she ever worked with on a team, being the Avengers or the Fantastic Four, who never made a pass at her. Okay? I can't think of any instances at this moment, but to be fair, I don't really follow the Fantastic Four and I don't follow the Avengers, so I'm not going to say for certain it never happened. It's not the idea of it happening that I take issue with. It's the way he has Jen angst over it. Right? The way Jason Aaron has Jen angst over it, he has her come across, the way it's written, and you need to read the issue for yourself, at least until I do a review of it. But he has Jen come across as some woman, who experienced sexual harassment and was powerless to do anything about it. That is not Jennifer Walters. Even as Jen Walters, just as the regular person, she's an attorney. She has the power of the law to defend herself with. If someone does actually sexually harass her, and let's get something straight, someone who hits on you, right, is not sexually harassing you. Hitting on somebody in and of itself is not sexual harassment. Is it annoying? Yes, I go through a fair amount of it at times. Right? I get men who are twice my age making a pass at me. Right? Saying, "Hey baby, what's your name?" is not sexual assault or sexual harassment. It's annoying as all hell. I hate it. I hate it because I'm going home, I'm tired, I'm not in the mood. But it is not sexual harassment to approach a person and hit on them, right? It's not. It doesn't fit any legal definition. And that he would take a lawyer who knows this, and have her act like some powerless woman who again was like sexually harassed, and act like she has no power to defend herself, insults the bejesus out of me. Jason Aaron, I'm an old comic head. Okay, I'm actually revisiting a lot of the old issues and old comics because the newer stuff is just plain piss poor writing and art, and I am not going to pay for that, quite frankly. I'm not. That's why I read comics online. I'm not going to pay for trash. And that you, Jason Aaron, as the writer, would try to take an attorney, and try to say that, or try to present her as weak and helpless, astounds me. I know female attorneys. I have a personal friend of mine who was my former boss at a job. She's a lawyer. If anything happens, she can defend herself. My current supervisor at my job is a lawyer. In the particular role she's in, she doesn't function as an attorney, but her work history is as an attorney. She's a former ADA. Do you really think that they don't know how the law works and what sexual harassment is or isn't? Or do you think that they are powerless despite being a part of the legal system? When you write stuff like this, Jason Aaron, you insult people like me. You insult people like my supervisor, like my friend, like other people I know who work in the legal field, men and women. But since we're talking about She-Hulk and She-Hulk is a woman, I'm going to focus on women. I'm not a fool, Jason Aaron. I'm not a fool. I don't know who you think you're fooling with this trash comic you wrote, but it's not me. I know my She-Hulk history. I know that she is not some defenseless little bird. Okay? Whether she's Jen Walters, whether she's She-Hulk, she has means of defending herself and protecting herself against whomever comes by. If somebody would try to sexually harass her today or take nude pictures, because he brings up, toward the end of the comic, he brings up a series of issues, I think, where Jen is sunbathing, and yeah, there are paparazzi. Not just some lewd, creepy dude, but paparazzi who take pictures of Jen while she's sunbathing. Right, first of all, I just saw that issue. You know what Jen did? She held a damn helicopter in place until the dude gave up the information about who sent him to take the pictures. Did you forget that, Jason Aaron? Number one. Number two, if somebody were to try to do that today, like, say spy on her and take pictures of her with a cell phone, right? Do you know what she could do, especially if she's in She-Hulk form? She could literally crush the phone and then sue them for taking the pictures. She-Hulk is not powerless. Don't try to sell me this idea that She-Hulk is powerless. It does not compute. Will never compute. She-Hulk is not powerless. Okay? If a man made a pass at her, you know what she would do? Right? She would possibly beat them up, but usually she'll just make a joke at their expense. And then you want to act as if, especially when it comes to the whole, teammates hitting on her, right, that she is somehow intimidated by the attention, rather by male attention, I should say. That is, again, Jason Aaron, a bald-faced lie. Again, I know my She-Hulk. This is a woman who is sassy, who is vivacious, who is self-confident. Okay? This is a woman who's had a crush on Hercules. Okay? This is a woman who has slept with Juggernaut. She slept with Juggernaut. She has slept with Tony Stark. She has made a pass at Wolverine. Okay? Jen does not mind the company and attention of men. In fact, she likes very strong, masculine men. In fact, the human boyfriend that she had during the John Byrne run, I sadly forget his name, I have to look it up, but he was a very, macho, masculine, classically masculine type of guy. If you look over the history of She-Hulk, that is the type of man she's interested in. Strong, manly, masculine. So again, don't try to sell me on this idea that Jen is somehow intimidated by men or intimidated by the romantic and or sexual attention from men. She's not. She revels in it. She likes it. Okay? So, there's that. Then there's this idea that he puts into the issue that Jen wants to be ugly, and that there's this conversation she has with, or rather this callback in her mind, because a lot of it is her internal thoughts, where she talks about how Bruce had apparently one point said that she had it easy because while he hulked out and became this big scary monster, that she became this basically the feminine ideal. What the comic brings up is that she used to look like a bodybuilder, which is true. The difference though is that she used to look like let's say Rachel McClish, who is the first Miss Olympia. And if you look at her, right? You and look at her pictures back when she won the Olympia in the early '80s, you'll see that her form was muscular, but not overly muscular. It was the feminine ideal, right? If you compare her to, say, the last person who won the Miss Olympia, I think in 2014 or something, before it was retired, you'll see that their bodies are very different, right? Rachel had the feminine ideal. The last person to win, and I mean no disrespect when I say this, but she looks closer to current She-Hulk than she does to classic She-Hulk. Let's just put it that way. Right? To me, this is an indictment that is saying that the female ideal or feminine beauty is somehow bad. It's not bad. The feminine ideal is not bad, right? It is not wrong to want to be a feminine woman, to look feminine and strong. Nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong with the way Rachel McClish, Corey Everson, I forget how her last name is pronounced, and others were feminine but also powerful. There is nothing wrong with the visual image of characters like Red Sonja, or if you're a video game player, Tyrus Flare, going back to the Golden Axe days. There's nothing wrong with that. That is beautiful too. So no, I reject this idea, Jason, that She-Hulk wants to be ugly. I think you've made her ugly. I think that you and Mariko Tamaki and others have made her ugly not only in appearance, but also in spirit, which for me as a reader is even worse. Because a bad design you can learn to live with, right? A bad design, after a certain point, fans complain long enough, they'll change it. Look at Captain Marvel, right? Captain Marvel went from this very androgynous, masculine look, and even in this issue, since you think I'm blind, Jason Aaron, in this issue, with the exception of the somewhat mannish chin, Carol Danvers probably looks as feminine as I've ever seen her in recent years. So see, fan complaint, right? The artist, the company eventually listens, and then look gets changed. Change may be slow, but change happens. But that you would have the gall, the audacity to write a emotionally ugly, emotionally weak She-Hulk insults me to high heaven and to no end. A She-Hulk that is basically trying to deny everything she had ever been previously. That is an insult, Jason Aaron. And I don't appreciate being insulted. Let me explain very briefly what the more classic version of She-Hulk meant for me and did for me. Since we live in an age of representation and representation matters, let me explain what She-Hulk, a giant green lady, meant to little Jean, Kid Jean, right? So imagine me for a moment, right? I'm 6, 7, 8 years old, right? But I'm tall for my age. I'm pretty big for my age. Not fat, not yet. But just, broad-shouldered, just plain big, right? I'm the big kid. I'm taller than some of my teachers, than some of my female teachers. You know how I felt? Odd. I felt weird. Kids called me weird, and worse. You know what She-Hulk made me feel when I saw the cartoon or I got a chance to read the comic? Not so odd. She-Hulk for me represented the strength I didn't have, whether it be physically or the strength of personality to embrace the fact that I was physically bigger than everyone else. And physically larger, sorry for the city noises, people, than everybody else. Seeing her embrace that, seeing her love the attention, seeing her view the She-Hulk form, which is 7 foot tall, green, muscular, to view it as beautiful, to view it as the form she preferred, right? It comforted me. It didn't make me feel, at least while I was reading it or watching it, it didn't make me feel so bad about myself. To know that there was a character that I read about or that I saw who thought that the odd form, the odd looking form, the non-normal form was the ideal, was the form that she wanted to be, that she preferred to be in. That meant a lot to me, right? Maybe I sadly didn't have the strength as a child, and I wouldn't really have the strength until my young adult years, to embrace the oddity that I was. But seeing someone else do it, at least, even if that person isn't real, at the very least it showed, hey, you don't have to be ashamed of it. You can embrace it. It can be your form of beauty. That's what it meant to me. And that you would have She-Hulk deny this or somehow be ashamed of this insults me, Jason Aaron. It insults me deeply because, again, that made me feel less alone. It made me feel a little bit of comfort. Not much, but it helped me. It helped me accept myself 1% more than I did before. That you would shame this version of She-Hulk. That you and Tamaki and others would take this beautiful, feminine, powerful, and female empowerment fantasy version of She-Hulk away because you personally don't like it or because you have some sort of agenda to push. You're not just offending me. You are offending kids like me today. Young girls and young boys who are not comfortable with themselves, who need to see somebody who is odd, who is different, who doesn't look like anybody else, and own it. And that you take it away and that you make her just like Bruce Banner, ashamed of her Hulk form, is insulting. It is absolutely insulting. The fact that you have reduced the She-Hulk character from a female empowerment fantasy to I hit stuff, I beat up trolls, is insulting, Jason Aaron. That you would have her beat the living hell out of the King Troll just because he asked the question of, hey, isn't Thor's name Thor? It's not a legacy. Insults me, Jason Aaron. Worse than giving She-Hulk an unlikable appearance, you have given her a weak, unlikable personality. You've done it, Tamaki's done it, other writers have done it, and I have had it up to here with it. I do not embrace your version of She-Hulk. Your version of She-Hulk is a bastardization of She-Hulk, of Jennifer Walters. You will never get me to embrace it. You will never get me to like it because it is not She-Hulk. It's not even Bruce Banner with breast. It's an insult. And I do not like to be insulted, Jason Aaron. And that's pretty much all I have to say about it. I think if I continue, I really will just evolve into a rant. And as angry as I've come across in this past 20-some minutes, I really don't want to fall into ranting. So all I have to say about it is this. Jason Aaron's version of She-Hulk can burn in the fires of hell, for all I care. In particular, she can burn in the ninth circle of hell, because just like the changes to Carol Danvers, this version of She-Hulk is a betrayal of everything She-Hulk was and is supposed to be. It is a betrayal of the She-Hulk that gave me a little bit of comfort when I was a kid. That still gives me comfort. That I found inspiration in, that I found beauty in. Okay, I like characters like She-Hulk or Sheeva from the Mortal Kombat games, right? Those strong, powerful, tall, muscular, big girls, right, who are physically powerful and who do not care what you think, They own it. They own the fact that they're not like anyone else. They demand respect. They demand your attention. For me, they are the female empowerment fantasy. Not this weak, scared child that's in a big, huge body. That's not She-Hulk. That's an insult. And I refuse to be insulted. So that's pretty much it. I really don't have anything else to say. I think if I continue, I will just devolve into profanity. So, in closing, when it comes to this version of She-Hulk, screw you, Jason Aaron. That's all I have to say. And I want, if anybody here is on Twitter, because I'm not on Twitter. I'm not on Twitter. And I hope to never be. But if you are on Twitter, and if you want to, please, share this video with Jason Aaron. Because I think that he needs to know. Now, he'll probably decry it as, Comicsgate trolling or whatever it is. Believe me, I have no doubt that he will disregard the opinion of a biracial, non-white woman. Because I don't toe the party line. But still, please, share it with him anyway. Because if I can get him to even listen to 5 minutes of it, that means that he heard my voice for 5 minutes. Okay? This type of thing is exactly why I started making videos. Because I don't like the idea of writers like Jason Aaron trying to, through the character of She-Hulk or other characters, speak for me. You don't speak for me, Jason Aaron. You don't get to tell me how I should feel about being hit on or about anything else. You don't get to tell me, right, that this is the proper version of She-Hulk and the John Byrne version was bad. No, Jason Aaron, you don't get to tell me that. Right? You don't get to tell me that it's wrong to ask the question of, hey, isn't Thor Thor's name and not a legacy? Because what you show there is that for asking a perfectly reasonable question, and then Jen then takes this one of the hammers and beats the troll either to unconsciousness or death. What you're basically saying is, ask a question, get hurt. Ask a question, and the hero of the story will pound you into the dirt. Because the troll didn't insult her, at least in this issue. The troll didn't insult her. He didn't say anything mean about her. He asked a question. And you had Jennifer beat the living hell out of him for it. I do not support this narrative. This is why I don't support the SJW narrative. Because it says, hey, let's take our female characters that men and women, liked, and let's be reductive and reduce them to, hey, punchy. No, a woman is not strong because she can physically assault somebody. That doesn't make anybody strong. If all you can do to express your strength is physically assault someone, you are weak as hell. You are weak as hell, you have no discipline, and you have no respect for the power and the damage for the power that you have and for the damage you could cause. That is what I learned reading superhero books. That a true hero, while powerful, restrains that power. It does not abuse other people with it, especially just because they ask a question or have a different opinion. So as I was saying, because I'm really starting to lose my cool here and this is running too long. If you so feel that you should, again, it's just, I'm asking, I'm not telling, just asking. If you want to, please share this with Jason Aaron. Please share this with others, because I want people to know that there is at least one woman out there who does not agree with this narrative, who does not agree with this version of She-Hulk or the greater message about women and men and our interaction with each other is. I don't agree with this message that Jason Aaron and others are trying to spread through characters like this bastardized version of She-Hulk, like this bastardized version of Carol Danvers. There's a reason why these books go absolutely nowhere in sales because they are insulting to your intelligence. They are insulting to the history of the character. They're simply an insult. And if I could make them burn in the fires of hell, I sincerely would. But anyway, that's the video. Again, maybe in a few days, once I've calmed down, it can be a little more objective. I'll make an actual review of Avengers 20. It's Avengers 20. But for right now, this is just my rebuttal of Jason Aaron's issue of She-Hulk. And please, I want you to share it with him if you so choose to, or to share it with others. And if you are on Twitter, especially if somebody has a response or something, let me know, because I'm not on Twitter. I'm not going to get on Twitter, because then I would just waste entire work days and nights, going back and forth with people, and I already do that too much on YouTube. So let me know. Let me know if you shared it. Let me know if someone on Twitter says anything about it. But anyway, this is Gene from NYC, a longtime She-Hulk fan, Carol Danvers, Miss Marvel fan, Sheeva fan, and I am out. Have a good work week, everybody. Bye.